it also ties into the world of, because of infidelity, right? We're talking about infidelity here. It ties into the world of secrets. And people are in relationships sometimes say, when we're in a relationship, we should be open about everything. There should be no secrets. And I don't think that that's true. I think that there are certain things about you, your thoughts, your mind, your perception of the world that you're allowed to keep to yourself.
Okay. I feel like there's a difference between there being things that I'm keeping to myself, like private things, whether it's like an event or like a thought, and secrets.
So I think, are you trying? Okay, I
have no issue. Like, I agree. I think it's like there's shit that I want to keep to myself, and that I don't want to have to talk to you about it, and I don't plan on it, and I don't think I have to.
Yeah. Even if we're married, even if we've been married for like,
there's shit that I don't feel like I need to tell you.
Yeah.
But that's different than being like, I'm going to purposely keep this away from you.
I want to know, because I think this will be able to define what way.
Maybe it's a terminology thing, because I agree 100% with you. But I still think, like, if you get an intrusive thought.
Does the phrase, what they don't know can't hurt them, apply?
No, I think that's being intentionally malicious.
Okay, so
that's what I mean.
I think
that
like
is what I don't like.
Yeah, like I think like what they don't know can't hurt them. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah,
like all that. Those kinds of
those
are secrets.
That's a secret. That's what I feel like is a secret.
You're deliberately being
withholding information.
I am going to make everything. I'm going to make sure that this person never finds out about that.
That's a secret.
That's very different.
I would then, if I want to make an addendum to that, I would say that's a very specific type of secret.
Yeah,
that's a secret with a malicious intent.
Yes.
That's a malicious statement in and of itself. There's an intent behind it, or a level of like
so what do you
hidden fact. Like, I think that there's just some things that could only belong to you, and like it doesn't matter.
But I don't think that's a secret.
But if your partner asks you, hey, like, what's all, this and that, I think you're allowed to say, like, I don't want to talk about it, and I think that should belong to me. At that point, it's a secret. At that point, it's something that you're not willing to disclose to them, and to them, it's something that they have to deal with because it's a secretive part about you. I think that the word secret has a negative context. It immediately comes off as negative, but it's still the same. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess I can see what you're saying. I wouldn't call it a secret because, again, I feel like, maybe like, I think like a secret requires like intent.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I don't. I just think it's something that you don't disclose.
Even then, like, I'm like, it's not that I'm withholding it from you, it's that I'm just keeping it to myself.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, in that sense, I'm like,
100%.
I feel like that's different, and that's why I'm like, I just don't think that that's a secret. I just think that that's just, I don't want to talk about that.
I'll give you a very clear example. I'll give you a very clear example that kind of toes the line with what we were talking about before. Let's say you're dating somebody, or let's say I'm dating somebody. They're at the grocery store. Some guy hits on her. He's an attractive guy. She doesn't necessarily flirt back, and she said she's very clear, blah, 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 but she does find him attractive or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she doesn't tell me. I wouldn't be upset.
Yeah, I
wouldn't be upset.
Yeah.
But another person might say, oh, that's something that you should have told me. And like, no, like, you know what I mean? Like, sure, it's somebody attempting to try to like to persuade you in a way that might be hurtful to me. And some people might be like, you need to disclose that information. I don't feel like you do.
Here's why I don't think that would be like a secret, is because like, in that context, like, that requires for you to know what would be upsetting to that other person, and what, you know what I mean? Like, you said it yourself, like, oh, to me, that is not a big deal, and to another person, it might be. So if I know that my partner would rather me tell them, you know what I mean? If my partner is like, hey, if this kind of stuff happens, if that same exact situation happens, I would rather you just tell me. Like, it just makes me feel like whatever.
Here.
Sure.
And I am like, okay, got it. Like, that's something that you're needing from me as a partner. I know that that's true. And then I go on and not do it, then I would be like, that's a secret. You knew how it was going to make them feel. You know what I mean?
And I guess
if I don't know and then they react like that, I would be like, well, I wasn't trying to keep it from you. I just didn't think it was necessary.
So here's like another, here's like an exact example. Well, not a very similar example to that, but I feel like would then classify you into the, you should tell your partner about this is, like if or an example of you previously stating to your partner like, hey, this is it kind of makes me feel whatever, fine, you know what I mean? Let's say the other person doesn't acknowledge it as being something of significance to them, so they continue to not say anything about it, which is like fine, whatever, people do that all the time. But in that example of like somebody's flirting with you, and you choose to keep it from your partner, specifically somebody that your partner knows, somebody your partner has known for a while.
Yeah, that changes things.
And so
that changes things.
like
At
that
that point, you need to disclose that information.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? At
Because
that point,
again,
you need to disclose that
context,
information.
like,
yes, like
but I'm just
even-
saying, like random. Like you don't know this person.
Agreed.
This person just happened to find your partner attractive, and they tried and they shot their shot. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that case, like if you don't tell me, I'm like, okay, like you know what I mean. And if I find out later,
so
in whatever
like,
way, I wouldn't feel some type of way about it.
Them not telling you at the point, like if it's like for instance, like let's say you and your girl and the person who's like talking in a more friendly manner is a friend of yours to your girl, you would consider that a secret if they just continue to not tell you anything about it.
Yeah.
Until you find out or
Yes.
whatever. Okay.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it can be
Varies.
extremely delicate. But like even like I've heard people say that like they want to know like everything and this and that and blah blah, and I'm just like, I'm not necessarily sure that you should be entitled to everything that happens in somebody's mind. So like even you can get like intrusive thoughts, or you can become attracted to somebody else, and like you know what I mean. You're gonna make an active decision not to act on that. Hopefully, if you're committed to your partner, but like to act like attraction that doesn't happen, or like you know what I mean, like and like your partner choosing to not disclose that information for the sake of like the relationship. I don't think that's sure, it's a secret, and I would rather you just not say. I'm perfectly fine with you keeping it to yourself.
I feel like
You know what I mean?
I agree. Like I am the same way, where I'm like, I don't need to like. Okay, whatever.
Because
like I've had ex-boyfriends before where they were like, "Oh, this girl was like flirting with me," and I felt really guilty. And I was like, "Why are you telling? I don't know what to do with this information. Like,
Right.
I don't. What do you want? Okay, but so I didn't care. But also, it goes to like what we've talked about before, where it's like, if they were like, I just want you to tell me when this happens, like that just makes me feel better. It makes me feel safer or whatever. I don't necessarily. Like we all have different requirements and needs in a relationship, and I can choose to be like, oh, I don't really want that in a relationship, like that's not what I'm looking for in a partner. But if somebody does have that boundary, I don't feel like I wouldn't be like, oh, that's wrong, like that's because that's just a boundary that you have. It's not a boundary that I necessarily would pursue or that I would really like, like it's not something that I would ever really want to be confined with. But it's somebody else. Like I know somebody that we know is in a relationship and they have a fine relationship, like they're really great, but they've talked about it before where they were like, if somebody at work or somebody in any way like makes a pass at you, I just want you to know, like I just want to know, like you don't have like you don't have to like tell me who they are and give me their Facebook or whatever, but you can just be like, oh, you would, like whenever I was at the grocery store today, like this guy came up to me and they would be like, oh, like thank you for telling me, that's it, you know what I mean? It doesn't really go beyond that. It's just like that's that's like a need that they have.
Really
so then I'm
depends.
like, I don't think it's inherently wrong for people to have that kind of like need in a relationship.
I think the thing that perplexes me about that in general, and I just think I can't wrap my head around certain things because I just don't live inside that mind state, but like it perplexes me because I'm like, what good does that do? Other than complying to the terms of the relationship that you've already established. But other than that, like, what good does it do?
Yeah.
What good does it actually do? Does it make you feel like you have a partner that's trustworthy, by them telling you that? But she would be just as trustworthy if she didn't tell you and she didn't engage in the behavior. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like either way, he or she are just as trustworthy. So them telling you, it doesn't make them more or less trustworthy. It just means that like they're following a rule, and a rule that doesn't necessarily change anything about anything.
Yeah.
So that's where it perplexes me on just a little bit, but I can totally understand how somebody might have that as a requirement of theirs. That
I think it also just like I don't know. Like, I mean, as somebody who I don't really think I wouldn't care to know. I wouldn't want to know. If I'm now, as a person I am now, who is secure with themselves, secure with whoever I'm going to end up being with, I'm choosing the person I'm going to end up being with because I already feel like that's never going to be a problem.
Sure.
Like prior to like Marce now, sane Marce now, because obviously I was insane before, quite literally. I was like, oh my God, I need to know everything. And it was like only because it was my insecurity. So if I were to have somebody come up to me and be like, I need you to tell me this, and I'd be like, you have to talk to the wall then, because I don't know who or what, but I'm not, I'm dipping. Like this is not happening, which is interesting.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's just one of those things. They're all kind of like tied into like every one of those. Like every one of these topics is like slowly like.
I also don't want to say that people who think that are in some way, shape, or form insecure, or like they don't know what they want out of their relationship. That's what you want, and that's what is healthy for you. Do your thing, but for me, that just wouldn't be what I would be pursuing.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
Know what I mean?
I feel you. It's interesting how all of those things are intertwined to some degree.